Let me make sure we're recording. So let's go back to where we were. So we're talking about the fact that this wrap equity situation. Wrap equity is the difference between what the first lien is and the balance of what the newly originated note is. So what do
Right.
you do with that equity? What can you do with it?
Well, you can trade it, you can discount it and sell it, or you can hold on to it. Let me give you a little sidebar. Back when I was just a young realtor pup, 35 years ago, I was interested in wraps because there was somebody doing wraps here, and he had done 30 of them. There were VA loans in the Newton subdivision. The house was worth about 35. And when people left, he just took over their payments.
Sure.
And he wrapped it. So he had, and he didn't even realize that you could have different interest rates. He said, I always wrapped it whatever the interest rate was. I said, oh my gosh, lost opportunity. This is a guy who'd done 30 of them. But anyway, so you can do a lot with the wrap equity. And let me tell you something I did this week. All right. So I'm still learning things after 42 years, David. So I called up a burned out landlord and said, you ready to sell your house? Yeah, I want to sell it. I said, so I made him a deal for 3,000 down. It's got a HUD tenant paying $847. So 1.5. So in that case, he wanted 8%. So I said, yeah, I'll pay you 8%. And so the payments, there's plenty of money if I wanted to keep it. 847, $30,000. It was a 12-year amortization, so it was plenty. It was a good cash flow, probably $300 or $400 a month cash flow. But I had this idea that I personally don't like the whole rent subsidy game, mainly because you can't sell my house, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't take no tenant is going to take as good a care of a house as an owner. That's the theory. No. I don't know if that's true, but that's the theory.
I agree with you.
So I got thinking about this. Well, it's really another investor said it should be $950 should be the rent. So 75 under rented. So I had this idea. I'm going to go to the tenant when I do my due diligence and say, do you have a family member that's got $5,000 and would like to make $200 a month? And so we use a trust. And so the tenant would find somebody in their family who would be the landlord.
Whoa.
And that's not Dodd-Frank. That's an investment loan, right?
Yeah, of course, because the landlord is not an owner.
I would just pick up a $20,000 wrap equity. But the good thing about it is that HUD tenant's going to be there until they die. And why is that? Because the family member is the one taking care of it, not me.
Yeah. Yeah. Any problems, they go right to the family member. Interesting. You know, I have not. I've never heard of flipping it and getting the wrap, you know, if it's a tenant occupied house, flipping it to a note, but not make them the owner because they may not be able to, whatever, but make their family member an owner.
They can't be the owner and still receive the subsidy. And that's the reason we use trust, because
the subsidy is a huge part. Wow, that's cool. I'd never heard of that. Yeah. Wow, when all secrets out in a first few minutes. This is awesome.
Well, let me try a couple of them and see how it works. But I'll tell you what I did. You know, you can get a listing of all the HUD available properties. You can go find a list of HUD properties. Why not send a letter to all the owners that said has the thrill of management left you? And how about if I just buy it from you and keep your payments coming, and let's sit down and talk about it, and I just do the same thing.
Awesome. Well, I mean, just a FYI, we're kind of multi-chatting this here. I see Jamar, we have Mark, we have Brian, Edward in the chat. Feel free to ask some questions. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different topics. We're testing this whole theory out by going live on Walter's awesome platform here. I never understood the whole wraps world. I think it's something new to me. Because Jersey, from my knowledge, doesn't really permit wraps. Maybe they do, and I just never heard of it. But to me, it sounds like with $30 billion originated last year, this is really the seller finance market, not the one-off brother and sister who got a house from a deceased relative who wants to sell a house on numbers. It's these kind of people that are really the ones who are doing that big market.
Yeah, and so back when I started, there was no information. I called up the realtor library in Chicago. I said, "What have you got on wraps?" And they sent me one 3-page article. That was it.
What year was this, you think?
It was back in the late 70s, probably.
Okay.
So there's a lot more out there. There's plenty of
Yeah.
information. Now, let me just tell you another thing that I do. Oftentimes when I'm financing to a homeowner, I'll get them to sign an underlying short amortization and then wrap it. So they'll be signing 2 notes, 2 deeds of trust. Okay. And the reason I
So
do
you do
that,
80-20?
it just depends on the deal. It could be
Gotcha.
50-50, depends on, So what I want to do is create some liquidity into my wrap. So if I had to sell something, I'd sell it first.
Mm,
And keep it. And did that liquid, couldn't you sell that?
absolutely.
A 7-year amortizing loan? Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome stuff. I mean, this is stuff that, over the years you kind of learn. And as you said before, we learn every day. Something new always comes up, a technique,
Sure.
a strategy, just by brainstorming. You never know. You may come up with an idea just by talking here. So, wrap's something we're diving into. We did a webinar recently, just last Friday, about making sure the numbers, because most people don't understand that if you create this wrap, don't be selling a wrap at 6% or 7%, because it just hurts your numbers. You should be getting up to the 9.5, 10, avoiding usury law, but make sure it's up there high enough for people to really kind of either make it sellable, make it refinanceable if they want to, make it have options where if you do a 5-6% loan, the banks are doing higher than you are. And to me, it makes no sense.
Well, and markets change. So I was liquidating 4 notes that I had, homeowner notes that were at 7.75%. And to liquidate those notes, I had to take over $20,000 discount
Gotcha.
to the market. And so I said, now why in the world am I setting myself up to have to take a discount? So I just gave myself a raise. And in Mississippi, 10% is you can't finance for more than 10% for residential.
Yeah,
so all
usually.
9.99. And so
Absolutely.
that's more like market rate, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it was weird because we just talked to Max from Call the Underwriter about the fact that when loans were at 3%, the usury law was okay, right? But when these rates are getting at the 7.5, that margin gets really slim now, which kind of stinks. I wish they did percentage. But this idea of wraps, I think, is 2023, right? Where you're literally able to borrow money from a seller at 2-3% on 100, 200, 300, $400,000 at 2%, wrap it and create a note at 9.5, 10. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer, right?
Well, here's a tip for you. Can I tell you a tip? So I
Sure.
did this years ago. I bought a house subject to, and I forgot how much I gave down, but then I sold it to my handyman. So it was just a transfer from me to him, and he took it subject to.
Okay.
Well, he got behind on his payments, and there wasn't anything I could do to get back in the deal because I didn't own it. I didn't have the debt. And so it was ruining the person's credit, the underlying credit. And so what my cautionary tale is, if you're going to sell it to somebody else, wrap the underlying with identical terms, if that's what you're going to do, to give you a way to get back in the deal if they don't pay.
Amazing.
Things happen.
So what has been some of the struggles you've come across? So many issues, concerns, or problems you've run across?
Well, explaining a wrap is difficult to a civilian, right? It's difficult to explain why you've got 2 $40,000 mortgages when you're selling it for $40,000. That's kind of difficult to explain.
Absolutely.
And so that's that's probably the main thing, insurance issues too. If you got a bank involved as an underlying, then you buy it, you got to deal with the insurance company. And sometimes the only way to deal with insurance companies is have two policies.
So one for the lender, one for the borrower? Okay. How do you handle with this wrap idea, a loan to be called when sold? Is there a way for idea about that?
Well, when you're creating your seller finance notes, when you're buying, just go ahead and put it in there, a clause that says, seller gives me the right to sell this house utilizing a wraparound loan. And then I tell them what it is. And they don't ever have an exception.
But do you need permission from the first lien because it quote unquote sold?
When it's seller financing.
Okay.
You can't do that with a bank per se, but you can do that with seller finance and just put that permission statement into the note and into the deed of trust. So there's not any question about that paragraph 17 or 18, the due on sale clause.
Yeah.
It just neuters it. It neuters it.
Gotcha. So technically it's sold, but it's sold seller financing, so it's a little different.
Yeah, and you really got to use your IRA to buy these houses when you're doing these wraps, because it also neuters the capital gain.
Most people don't know this.
Well, here's the thing. So when you sell a house, if you're the owner, you get ratted out by your attorney in most cases, tell them what the sales price is. And there are no deductions in there. It's just the top number.
Sure.
And so when you sell to a homeowner with seller financing, that's a taxable event, regardless of if you get the cash or not. Now, we gave an example of somebody that if they had done one a month, created $20,000 a month wrap equity, did 12 of them, only to find out at the end of the year that they had a $240,000 taxable event. That's not the right time to find that out. So you got to put the IRA at the beginning.
Yeah.
Critical.
Yeah. So, the key here is to originate and then underwrite correctly, right? Because if you don't underwrite and you're selling this house or owner occupied, that's the problem. But when you get around the idea of being a tenant and sell it to a landlord, it squashes all those concerns, which is really awesome. One of the things that we're going on this also to show is the fact that when we're trying to acquire assets, one of the things we do personally is we like to network with as many people as possible, because you never know who knows something, who knows an asset, but also the fact knowing people local to any area you're looking at means you don't have to always work in your backyard. If you have a great connection in a local town and you're looking at an asset that comes across your desk in that town, one of the best people to speak to is that expert investor that you work with all the time to make sure that you can get some local knowledge about it. One of the other facets is that we work with is REO agents. And what for me, having the network, having an REO agent kind of squashes the idea. I'm not big on BPOs, but squashes the idea of you have to buy in your backyard all the time, right? I don't find that to be true.
Well, you talk about networking. I just thought about something. We had a Christmas party for a local real estate group, and there's about 60 or 70 people there. I should have done this, but I didn't. Next time we have a party like that, I'm going to print out 60 blank contracts and say, here, you fill them out. What do you want to sell?
I like that. Tell me something you're selling. Just don't put your kids on there, right?
Put whatever number you want to put on there.
Yeah.
What it is, and I'll go look at it.
Yeah. Just drum up something. You're just getting interest. So, one of the things we do we've been buying notes from 2010, a lot less time than you've been doing it, but we all do it a little bit differently, right? And I think networking with other people allows you to learn how other people do what you do in different areas. So you can learn, even if they're newer from you or older, it doesn't matter because you get your own ways, and just taking information from everybody is really key. One of the things that I learned over the years is the math, right? One of the things I didn't understand when I first got in the space is this calculation stuff. Notes a lot about calculations and legal. It's
Right.
less about the property itself. However, the underlying secured asset is that asset being the house or land, be it the land. And what we walk into is this idea of due diligence and stuff like that. Collateral files, right? How do you guys review collateral files? Is it in-house, hire an attorney? Do you have a company? What do you usually do for your collateral review?
Well, I'm not buying notes, I'm manufacturing them. So that's
Okay.
that's a major difference.
And-
I've only bought 2 notes in my life.
Okay, so when you originate it, are you originating your own kind of documents, or you have an attorney draft them up?
Well, it's funny, we have attorneys here, not title companies so much, but they know all my squirrely clauses. They've seen,
I like that word.
well, I tell you what, my number one attorney, first time I did a rap, he said, Walter, you got any forms? I don't have any of these. So I sent him my forms.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing, this rap world, because you can sell a partial in any of these in a second and get most of your money back in seconds, right? So you're getting into these subject twos and wrap loans for almost nothing. And then you're literally selling it in a thin air, and you can sell partial and get most of your money back. So it's also, we're getting a lot of feedback. I know this is the first time we're doing this, so just let you know, while we got a lot of participants, so feel free to put my mess in the chat. I'm kind of dual tasking this.
Hey, I got a test question for you. Now you're going to be the
Okay.
guru. Okay.
Put the hat on.
All right. If you negotiate a seller finance mortgage for 80,000,
Okay.
you sell it to a homeowner for 80,000. Can you make any money?
If the interest rate's the same,
You get to decide that.
okay. Well, you can make money. You can do down payment. Interest rate can change, right? And a term can change, right? From my eyes, you absolutely can.
All right. So if you negotiate a 0% purchase, which is not that hard to do on the buy side.
Oh
So
my
let's
gosh.
just take a $80,000, 0% interest at $800 a month. And then you sell it for $80,000 at 10% interest a month,
Oh my gosh.
a little bit longer amortization.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you something. Is that a taxable event?
No. No, because nothing gets sold.
No, you sell it, but it's the same price that you bought it for.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Basically, it's a wash.
So the point of that is to realize that negotiating is the most highly paid job there is. And if you can
Yes.
negotiate, I give 0% interest loans all the time. I do. I'm not going to ask somebody to do something I don't do. I do it. And so, but that's usually a junker that I got to get off my inventory. Something I want to get going.
Absolutely.
But so just keep that in mind, that if you're good at negotiating, and it could be full retail price. You got that?
You can sell it full retail price,
And
same
buy
dollar amount, squash the taxes, change the interest rate, change the term, put this in your IRA, and just cash flow. Right.
if you know how to negotiate with the seller. And it's not a hit and run. You don't come in there slinging your gun with price. The price is not what sells a seller on the idea of seller financing. It's benefits. You got to talk
Why?
Well,
why should they sell it? What helps them? What's the benefit for them?
Well, it's because they let that deferred maintenance go on for 30 years that somebody's
that porch is falling off that house, right?
right.
Yeah.
Right. And there are a lot of other reasons, but if Section 121 says if you live in the house for 2 out of 5 years, then unless it's an expensive house, you're not going to owe any taxes anyway. But
Right.
you could finance it and get an income stream. And the interest, if there are any interest, would be taxable. But also installment sales. If you elect to, if you can negotiate to, so this is for the seller who's seller finances for 10 years. And let's say he's got a big gain in there. It's an investment property. He pays taxes as he receives the money, not in a lump sum. Much installment sale.
Because it's not really a sale with a lump sum of 80 grand being in a pocket. It's literally chopped up which spreads that taxable event over 10 years. I like it. These are the kind of things that we don't talk about enough.
Well, and except if you're a dealer in the property, then I've been told you can't take installment sales. So it's you got to weave through all of that.
Gotcha. So I'm learning a lot here, which I really appreciate, because I think the knowledge that we all kind of have inside of us should be shared more. For me, I think as Walter has found out quickly, I'm more of a tech kind of person. And
I'm not.
Yes, we've gone back and forth on the tech ideas in a while. And this is one of the things we've been working on for a while, just to get it live, just to try it out for a quick minute to see if we can get, some kind of traction, see where people are at with your group. And we want to make sure the group knows the fact that posting and commenting is encouraged, because that's how we all grow in knowledge and share your what you're good at. So, I wanted to get into back to networking. To me, networking is, if I find a deal that doesn't fit me, I never know if it won't fit Walter unless I open my mouth, right? And Walter, would you pay a broker fee to me that if I found a deal for you that doesn't fit my bucket but fits your bucket?
Sure, it
So
doesn't even
this
have to be broken. How about a fee or a slice, a piece of the deal?
Oh, I like that even better, right? So this idea of we can't help each other is hogwash to me, which I think people fall apart. We kind of get too competitive and not be cooperative, because we're all kind of doing a different angle of the same investment. We're all in real estate, we're all in the niche of notes, but we're doing it in a different way, and we all can help each other without be a win-win, which is always the goal for us.
Yeah, but everybody's got their unique skill sets.
Yes.
Beginners don't have many of any of it, right?
Okay.
But the more experienced have that. But I spoke to our local real estate group yesterday, and I started out with, what do you do when somebody calls you to sell a house? What's the first thing you do? And so one person said, I tried to check for motivation. That's a good answer. Next person said, I want to know the price. Say that's not important when you're selling financing. That's not the first thing you need to know. And the other one is, I want an address. Okay, that's a fair question. But I would get all of that when somebody called me, but I would go directly to the title search. I want to know that I'm dealing with the person who owns it. And the reason I'm telling you that, this week, I had somebody approached about selling me an office right down the street. And I wanted to buy it. And the seller says, well, come on, I'll get you into it. And then I get a call from somebody else who owns the property, not the person who thought they owned the property. Do you think it's important to find out who you're dealing with?
Yeah, because you never know. And if it's not the person correctly, you can be in bad shape, because what are you doing? You have no power. And that seller finds out, and then you spend all the time and energy to do due diligence on this asset that you can't even buy.
So I think it's an important skill for all you that are listening, is take the time to become a title expert. And of course, that means you got to read the documents. You know what's in a mortgage or deed of trust, or what is not in a mortgage or deed of trust. See, I think that's more important, is figuring out what's not in there than what's in there.
Give me an example what you mean by that.
Well, for example, if there's a provision that prohibits you from selling a note, you need to know that, don't you?
I would think so. Absolutely. That's
Right?
a huge one.
Yeah. Well, how would you find that out? You've
By
got to look
reading.
By reading. By reading.
Simple things, right? The back to second grade. It's amazing for all those listening. I do think beginners have some skills, be it whatever they did in their W-2 job or whatever they did in the background. Young kids are really good at technology, right? But also time. A lot of these people who are getting in this space have time. So, and it's time to learn, time to research, time to understand, go down to the county records or talk to attorneys or if you have that time, utilize it. what do you think wholesalers and bird dogs do? They spend time to find deals. Spend the time to watch videos, educate yourself, get out there, call people up, ask questions, email people, spend the time. And if you want a mentor, you can do that kind of stuff. You can just learn by doing. When you get an asset,
I try to eliminate the lead as quickly as possible.
yes. Is it legit? Is it real? Is it worthwhile? I don't want to spend my time on something that's just not worth it.
I know how to drive around town, look at houses. I don't need any more lessons on that.
But you know what? If we can embark 20% of your experience in some new one that can drive around the whole town and do it over and over again and kind of, bring deals to you, it may be worthwhile to transition that, right? Or for someone who wants to learn. I think at the time is their benefit right now. If you're 19, 20, 21 years old, even 30 years old, and you have some time, start doing stuff, make mistakes. We all make mistakes, just don't do it with other people's money.
Well, the more you know about financing and title work, the easier your job is, because you can out negotiate people who are just interested in price.
Price should be the last thing.
Well, I can pay full retail price,
yes,
and sell at the full retail price if I got the terms that I want.
Correct. It's a shame that most of the time we buy assets, they want a price, right? And it's like, well, what if I offer you a partial? What if we buy, the whole thing? What if we, do other things, but a bid price most of the time is all they want. But, when you get an asset, what are your typical steps to evaluate that asset? What are some of these things? Are you looking at the county records? Are you wanting comps? Are you, getting, if it's been listed for sale in the past?
I don't care anything about comps. That doesn't matter to me. What I'm interested in is what it should rent for. If I'm going to create a seller finance note.
Gotcha.
Because values don't mean anything really. But yeah, my VA that I've got full time, that she's got her routine that she pulls up. So we're tracking foreclosures right now. And I said, so what do you do? So I want her to get me a Google map, a picture of the property. I want to know the land roll information. I want her to do a judgment search. Very important. Judgment. I want her to go send me the last 2 pages of the sectional index that has all the deeds for the last 10 years, all the transactions. See, in Hinds County, you can't view a document without going down to the county. Now, luckily, my office is 1.5 miles from the county record. Design. But see, that's a real benefit.
Yes.
Because I asked in the group yesterday, I said, how many people know how to run title in here? And there were 25 people in the room, and one person raised their hand.
Yeah.
They need to know that skill.
Yeah. And it can be as simple as going either the county or look at the county records online and just starting there. Just looking at the county records and seeing what's on, what is and what got, removed, just to get the idea of what does that look like? Just do it. And then practice it. Every county is different, right? Either it has to be online or not online. But then when you look at the county screen, you have to figure out where's the mortgage? Has it been released? Has it not been released? Is this judgment here? Is it that? And then the person search is the flip side of this whole thing, because there's real estate liens, and you have person judgment liens, 2 different markets there.
Right. In many cases.
Yes.
Ours would be, it may be recorded at the county recorder's office, or it may be at the circuit clerk, depending on what kind of judgment it is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I know that one of the things we do when we run stuff like that, we get a list of assets. We're on the note buying side, and we get a list of assets, and we want to start our process of evaluating an asset. My first step is to find out information about that property, right? I like to know bedroom, bathroom, square footages. I do get some quick AVMs just to get a ballpark. Are we working on a $20,000 asset or $150,000 asset? I also get things like, is it been listed for sale, which means motivation? right? If it was listed 6 months ago for sale, I want to find out the motivation there. I want to talk to the agent, right? If I can. If it's sold recently, I want to know that too. But I also want to find things out like, has there been foreclosure started on the asset? On the note buying side, the foreclosure part is a real key thing. And then what we also look at, we have I can definitely show the group here, but we have the ability to look up, we have a servicer fee charts. So we know every single servicer, where they're licensed at, and what their fees are. We have a huge chart in our due diligence portal. We also have we have all these agents we can list up. We have the attorney, which you can add to and see. I need an attorney here or there. It's all available. And we also have a group, our Facebook page, a group that is a directory of people. We're looking to do that with this group here, is that a directory, not to blast email. We're not looking to, mass emails for that. It's more to network with people and say, listen, let's shake hands virtually and say hello, right? So, one of the things we work on here is automating some of these processes. I don't need to manually go on Zillow and say it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,200 square feet. You can automate these processes. You can automate getting these dollars, these values that all these services have, just to get a ballpark before you spend the time and energy, right? I don't buy anything that's worth less than 50. Just, it's not worth my time as a note buyer. So I need a quick gauge where this value of property is at. If it's $150, I'm looking at it. So last time we spoke, I was going through my portal, which I'll definitely show in a second here. And I only spent a few minutes on it because I wanted to make sure we mind everyone's time here. When we show these kind of things, we literally have the ability to, let me bring up my here. We have the ability to pull all kinds of stuff here. We have the ability to look at resources, right? We have the ability to pull agents, see CFD data points. We have things like servicer comparison, IRA companies, state laws for CFDs, and all these kind of things. And no conferences too, which were coming up, right? We have all these different resources. One of the things that I use more than anything else is our data tools. So if it's not in your backyard, Walter, what do you typically do? Do you buy anything outside your backyard?
No, I don't. I mean,
Okay.
I've got enough opportunities every day here in my market. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to buy outside your market. It's just, I never have.
Gotcha. So one thing we have in our system is if you are buying outside your market, is a local REO agent. We have 10,000 of them, and it's literally done by longitude latitude. So it will capture up to 20 agents local to any property, and you can do this in bulk or individual asset. It's not one-off. You can do one-off if you want to, but you don't need to, right? What we're able to do here is capture over 60 different data fields, from the AVMs to everything else. So let me show you a quick example of what we're talking about. If I go to results here, you can see, and this can download to an Excel spreadsheet. You can literally upload, if you're note buying, an entire list of addresses and the data tape up this, and then it exports back down a spreadsheet with all the data points you're about to see. So we're able to take it. Oh, this is a single asset. I'm sorry. Let me go back here. We're able to, in a bulk fashion, take it and look at stuff and see all these kind of things, and we can individually see the results. So I can go ahead here and go to result details and see things such as the property, the owner's name, phone number sometimes, right? We can see bedrooms, bathroom square footages. We're capturing this stuff within seconds of this running through. We can get multiple values, up to 5 if they're available. I can get the annual tax amount. I'm not pulling the delinquent taxes, but I'm pulling this kind of data points.
Hey, David, come back.
Yeah.
When the first page you pulled up, they had a Jackson,
Yeah.
Mississippi property. Let's see what that is.
Sure.
I might have to buy a house from you.
Oh, So where are we at?
I saw it. It was about the
Let me
third.
go back
fourth
one
page.
page. It's a book. Let me go. Oh, maybe it was the main.
Well, all I saw was the Jackson, Mississippi.
Let me go back here. Right here. Okay. Let's take a look at it. This is a test kind of thing for us, but you can get an idea of what it looks like. So I can literally, based on this poll, let me see what's down here. Okay. So I'm seeing the fact it wasn't for sale. I have the owner's information, but this all downloads to a spreadsheet, which to me, when I'm evaluating my assets, this PDF doesn't do anything for me, right? But I'm able to see annual tax amount, what the tax assessment market value is. And then we'll have to fix this, but we can see the days on market, the average for that local, meaning how many days is that average on market for this area? Is it a high or low number? We're also able to see the population. So for people buying outside the market and they don't want to buy an area where the population of the city or county is too small, then it's hugely available, right? We're able to pull lender information on some deals. We can find if it's listed for sales, they're available. And the agent. Why is the agent important to me? If it was listed 3 months ago, I'm going to call the agent and find out what they're going to sell. Right? What was the motive? Was someone?
So is this a note that has to be a note that comes across your desk?
It can be anything. Based on the address of the app. You can upload it or copy paste right into the system, and it exports all this data. I can then download it, print it, or whatever I want to do. I can download the whole caboodle of all the assets or one single address.
That's good.
Yeah. And for note buyers, we get our tapes, right? And we want to gather this data. I think it's between 2 and 9 seconds an address. And we're going to be redoing the cost of this real soon and making it even lower. We're trying to get to the point where it's less than basically less than 50 cents an address. That's our goal. And we may even get cheaper than that, which is really awesome. We're just working logistics, but I wanted to you can get free access if you log in, all that stuff. You can get, I think, 45 free credits. The reason for credits is we have a server in the background, but when you run this, or if you run our agent search, as you can probably see in this example, when you run an agent search, we can get in a bulk or single, we're able to pull up any agent within a longitude, latitude, it figures out of an address. So in this case here, as you can see, we ran this address, right? And what we're able to pull is the agent's information, their phone number, their email address. These are REO agents, right? Where they're from, information about them. We get up to 20 each address. You can email them, call them, whatever you want to do. To me, I'd rather speak to a local agent or a local investor than ordering a BPL. Just to me, I'd rather call them and get local expertise knowledge of a real estate agent who works with banks.
Yeah.
Right.
Or a we buy houses guy. That's always a good way to do it. What would you pay?
Yeah. Yeah. So getting this information either through the resources, right? We have a directory of agents who other people recommended. We also have things like servicers and attorneys and product managers that other people have recommended to the group. We have our Facebook member directory, but we're looking to add Walter on here too. And just getting information. This is stuff that you can find out and share the information. So to me, this stuff here is invaluable. And when I download this stuff to a sheet that I can look at, I literally can see everything in what you see here inside a spreadsheet that looks like, as it brings up, this.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So you get a spreadsheet and you can pick and choose which addresses you want, don't want, and you literally will get an export with everything you saw on that in a spreadsheet, and you can run data points, and the fields are always the same. Right? It's crazy. Crazy.
So David,
Well,
was our live broadcast a success?
I think so. I don't see any comments in the feed, but I do see we have 11 people in the chat. So I thank you all for trying this test out with us. Me and Walt probably do this. Walter will do this again probably soon. Bring some feedback, put some comments in there. I'd be more willing to talk about different topics and areas that people are attracted to. Just to gauge the interest, but I definitely see a bunch of people still on the feed. Chad, Connor, Ken, Susan, Ryan, all shout outs to these guys. Cedric, Edward, Ryan, Walt, Mark, Jamar. I give you guys shout out. Feel free in the chat. You can always make a comment or if you have any questions at all. Yeah, Jamar, I'd love to see this again. Great information. Thank you so much, Jamar. Appreciate that. Well, I'd like to brainstorm some more what you do and see if we can hit some different topics while doing this and make sure we can really hone in on, the win-win mindset. How can we win-win for everyone out there, different angles? And I think for me, deal examples that people can present to us or to you exactly and say, how can I make the most out of this opportunity from your experience? What can I do with this asset? What tax advantages, stuff like that. So I think that would be an awesome topic if we can get some people in there and, share some knowledge. I'm not looking to steal your deal. Walter's not looking to steal your deal, right? But just sharing experience. I think deal examples are always fascinating. We can share our own, but I think helping you guys out would really intrigue other people to jump in here.
Right.
Awesome. Well, we're going to tune out now. Me and Walter going to finish up off air. But I appreciate everyone who tuned in and checked out our live feed.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, portal, I'll put it in the chat box for everyone. Right. Feel free to put it in there. Check out jkpholdings.com. You'll see it all that, or you can email me or Walt as well. Any questions you may have. And we encourage everyone who's watching to post, comment in the group inside the Financial Friends Network. I think that will make you a better investor and also a more supportive group for everyone. So awesome.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Walter. Appreciate it.
All righty.
We are off air. We gotta stop our recording.